This is the BMW 640d and it is the first coupe style car that we're going to be reviewing on our channel. This makes me very excited. So let's get started and review this car. Special thanks to Mohit and Raja Car Deals for providing us this car for a review. They have an awesome inventory of other luxury cars which are at a price which will blow your mind. They are well established for the type of service they provide. This car is just fantastic. Just wait till you listen to the specs of this car. This car has just been driven almost 10,000 miles, that is 16,000 kilometers, and all of the service records for that are available. The car is in scratchless conditions. Even the interior has no type of harm. You look at it, it is brand new. And the price of this car, well, that is the most mind-boggling thing. The price of this car is 38 lakh rupees. You know, when you go buy this car, a new one, well, the starting price of a 640d is 1 crore 21 lakhs. That is just the starting price. And for this model, the owner of the dealership told me that he has the original receipt of 1 crore 62 lakhs for this car. That is the on-road price. Well, they are just selling it for 38 lakhs. Can you believe it? 38 lakhs. I myself was astonished when I heard that number. And you would think that there is something wrong with the car. Well, there isn't. And you know what? I'll make it even better for you guys. What if I get you this car for just 35 lakhs? Well, you know what? That will be possible if you subscribe to our channel. And if you come to buy this car and tell them that you are a subscriber of Garage Reviews, well, they will give you this car for 35 lakhs. How amazing is that? So go subscribe right now and give me one of these. First, little overview. The BMW 640d is a part of the BMW 6 series, which is the Grand Tourer series of the BMW company. The production of the 6 series started in the year 1976, but for some reason was stopped in the year 1989. But then BMW thought, why leave such a great line of cars? And so they started production once again in the year 2003 and has been continuing since then. It is because of this decision that BMW made that we were able to review such great cars like the BMW 640d. And you will know why I'm praising this car so much, because when I start reviewing it, you'll start loving the car as well. The styling of the BMW 640d, well, it speaks for itself. It has such an aggressive front end which looks really menacing while it's driving down the road. If you talk about the grille in this car, it has the traditional BMW style kidney grille, which is the trademark of every single BMW. And looking down below, we have the fog lamps in this car, which have an elongated design which looks quite good, and when you turn it on in the night time, well, it looks so good. But one thing to mention is that the hood of this car is pretty long, so while you're driving it, do be careful that you don't bash into someone else. And next, talking about massive things, I would like to talk about the length of the doors. It's a coupe style design car with rear seats, so that explains it. And last but not the least, I would like to mention the chrome in this car. The chrome is just perfect. It doesn't look too overdone, neither does it look incomplete. It just looks elegant. And now for the rear in the BMW 640d. Like all other BMWs, the rear of this car as well is pretty clean. We just have the BMW logo and the 640d badging, which is a good design cue for any car. But one thing quite weirdly placed is the third brake light in this car, which is integrated within the trunk of the car. And you must be thinking, why BMW has done such thing? Why haven't they integrated it with the back windscreen in this car, which almost all other cars have? Well, the answer to that is that due to the coupe style design of the car, it's pretty low to the ground. And so as to make the third brake light very visible, they could not give it on the windscreen of this car, which almost all other cars have. And so they had no other choice but to integrate it with the trunk of the car, which the BMW company has done over here. Now, starting with the features, I would first like to start with outside the car and then we'll move our way inside. Outside the car, specifically, I would be starting with the doors. I've already told you about the length of these doors, and so we'll move forward from that. And specifically, I want to be talking about the rimless design. The design of these doors are so good, and that rimless factor gives such a nice look to this car, which is amazing in itself. And there is one feature related with the rimless doors of this car as well. And that is, whenever you try to open the door in this car, the windows will roll down slightly so that when you close the door, the windows don't smash with the door sills of this car and crack themselves. This is a fantastic idea, and I've already told you about this feature in the Mercedes CLA 200 review that I did. And so, being a rimless door car, this car also has that feature. Well, we're not done with the doors just yet. This car also has soft close doors, which is one of my favorite features in this car. I'll explain what this feature does. Remember when you try to close your door in any other car, the door sometimes doesn't close and you have to open the door once again and slightly push it a little harder so as to close it? Well, you don't have to do it in this car because this car has soft close doors like I just said. Whenever the doors in this car don't close properly, there is a motor in this car which will close the doors for you, and so in that way you don't have to open the door again and then close it once again so as to close the door properly. This is a fantastic feature and I so wish that my car also had it. Now, as we're on the outside of the car, I also would like to mention that when you put this car into the reverse gear, the BMW logo swivels to reveal the camera in this car, which is so nice. Now, once we move inside the BMW 640d, well, the first thing I want to talk about is the interior. And the interior in this car is so magnificent. Everything you touch, see, everything is leather. Even the dashboard in this car is leather. So the leather colors in this car are black and brown. We have a contrast of black and brown in this car, and so even on the dashboard and the center console area, everywhere that is black, we have a contrast stitching of brown, which looks so good. And the center console and the area near the infotainment screen in this car not only has leather but also has wood, so that gives the car even more character than it already has. So that is one thing I really appreciate in this car, and it looks really nice, and while driving this car you will have a very good experience. And now the next thing I want to talk about in this car is the center gauge display. Well, there's one thing very interesting about the center gauge display in this car, and that is this car has the center gauge display, but you'll not be able to notice it unless it's on. If you look at the gauges right now, you won't see any kind of place for the display to actually be. But once I start up the car, you can see that the center gauge display in this car is given below the gauges. Do you see the speedometer and the tachometer in this car, which have been cut in half? Well, when you turn on the center gauge display in this car, those gauges are now completed, and instead of the speedometer and the tachometer respectively, you have your fuel gauge and your fuel efficiency gauge respectively. So that is one very good idea by the BMW company, which I am a pretty big fan of, and I think that it's a fantastic way to integrate a center gauge display in any car really. And now I would like to move on to the infotainment display. The infotainment display in this car is a pretty standard BMW infotainment display, which I have already shown you in the BMW X1 that I had recently reviewed, and it is on my channel, so you can see that if you want to know more about the infotainment display in detail. You can find the link to that car in the description below, or any information card on your displays right now, so please do go check that out as well. Anyways, I still would like to tell you about the controls of the infotainment display in this car, which are given in the center console stack. Yes, that is right, you have controls to control the infotainment display in this car because it is not a touch screen. To control it, you have some controls in the center console stack of this car, which are very similar to the BMW X1 once again, but anyways, I'll explain it. To select anything in the infotainment display in this car, all you have to do is just press the center dial. You can also move the dial forward, backwards, left and right so as to change the screen on the display right now. Other than that, you also can rotate the dial obviously to control the options that are coming on your infotainment display. But one thing that I do like is that you have shortcut buttons to enter settings in the infotainment display, like menu, navigation, radio, telephone and all of that stuff. This is a very good idea because the infotainment display is not a touchscreen, so you don't have to fiddle around with the dial every time you want to drive your BMW 640d. If you want to enter the navigation, all you have to do is just press one button and you're in navigation. Next up, I would like to talk about the driving modes in this car. And yes, this is a driver-oriented car, and so BMW has given more than one driving modes in this car, and so we'll talk about that right now. Using these two buttons over here, I can change the driving dynamics of the car. For example, right now I am in Eco Pro mode, which gives me the best fuel economy of the car, and I can also configure the Eco Pro mode to tip at 130 kmph, which means that no matter how hard I press the accelerometer in this car, I cannot exceed more than 130 kilometers per hour. I can also change that speed to something else, but I'm going to leave it at 130. Anyways, I also have Eco Pro limit and Eco Pro climate control. If I press this button once again, it takes me into Comfort Plus mode, which gives me a comfortable and a smooth ride. Pressing the button once again gives me the comfort mode of this car, which is the normal mode. And then I can go into sports mode, and I can also configure the sports mode of this car to drivetrain and chassis, only drivetrain and chassis. Which means that if I drive in drivetrain and chassis, that will give me the best driving dynamics, and a sports oriented chassis, which means that I will have a harder suspension, due to which there will be less body roll. If I drive in only drivetrain, then I will have the best driving dynamics. And if I drive only in chassis mode, then I will have a sports oriented chassis, which means that I will have only a hard suspension, which will result in less body roll. Anyways, moving back, I can always go into sports plus mode in this car, which is the best driving mode when you are in a sportish feeling drive. And next up, I would like to talk about the radio system in this car, and specifically talking, I would like to talk about the CDs. Yes, that's right, CDs, not CD, because this car has two CD drives in this car. One is in the center console stack that you can see right now, and the second is situated in the glove box, and that glove box is a CD changer. The CD drive located in the glove box can hold up to 6 CDs, and if we count the one in the center console stack, this car can handle up to a total of 7 CDs. Like, that is just insane. I'm sure that when this car came out, even then CDs were out of date. Still, BMW gave you a 6 CD changer along with a CD drive in the center console stack. I mean, I don't know what the sense of this is, but still BMW has given it, and that is, I don't know, cool. And now to explain the next feature, I have to change my position. So hi once again. Anyways, the feature I wanted to talk about is the seat belts in this car. Well, in normal coupe style two-door cars where the doors are pretty long, there is one little flaw, and that is because the doors are so long, the B pillar in this car has to be shifted a little bit back, and which makes it very hard for us to reach the seat belt in those cars. And so obviously BMW has thought of that, and so instead of giving the seat belts on the B pillars of this car, they've actually integrated it with the seats, which makes it a lot easier so as to put on your seat belts in this car, which is great thinking by the BMW company. And so those were the features in this car, and now we'll start with the practicality. I would first like to talk about the glove box in this car, which once opens, you can see that it's a small glove box, not that large, and that is mainly due to the CD changer in this car. If that was not there, you would have had plenty room in the glove box in this car. But anyways, moving on to the center console, you have 2 cup holders which are also covered, and opening them is pretty simple. You just have to push the cover and it opens and reveals 2 cup holders. Anyways, to the side of the gear selector in this car, you also have a covered center console storage, but when you open it, it actually reveals a cigarette lighter and a sort of ashtray, so that is the ashtray in this car. And then last but not the least, we have the center console armrest, which doubles as the center console storage. But one thing that I love about the center console armrest in this car, which is also a center console storage, is that it is also lockable, so that anything valuable you have can be locked away in your BMW 640d. But you must be wondering that this car has keyless entry. It has a key which doesn't have an actual key. So how do you lock the center console storage? Well, a fact about key fobs is that the key fobs which don't have any kind of key actually have an hidden key in cases where the battery dies of the car and you want to open the car. So in this car it's no different. You also have a hidden key in the key fob. Well, to reveal the hidden key, you just have this one button that you need to push, and once you push it, you just have to pull the hidden key away from the key fob. And in that way, you can unlock or lock your center console storage in this car. Anyways, with that out of the way, I would now like to open the center console storage and talk to you about the center console storage. Once you open it, it reveals a very long console storage, which is not that deep but sufficiently deep. It is very long, so you can use it for a plethora of stuff. You can store a lot of stuff in that center console storage, so which is a nice idea, and you don't need to worry about storage in your BMW 640d. And now for the practicality of the rear seats. Now I am going to be explaining the practicality of the rear seats from the front seats, and you'll know the reason for that once you watch our comfort session of this video. But anyways, talking about the rear seat practicality in this car, you just have seat pockets for both the driver and the passenger side seats, and there is nothing much more to tell. And now for one of the most important part of the practicality session, and that is to do with the trunk. First, we're going to talk about opening this trunk, and this car has 3 ways to open it. First is in the driver side footwell, second is on the key fob, and third is using the trunk itself. I'm going to demonstrate it really quick, and this is fantastic. Just have a look at it. To open this trunk, all I have to do is just press the BMW logo inside, and that lets me open the trunk. That is so fantastic, and I love that feature. But anyways, once you open the trunk, you can see that you have a lot of storage space inside this car, and you can store a lot of things in this car without any problem. So going in a long road trip in this car won't be a problem at all. And one very good thing in this car is that even though it has a coupe style design which is meant for the sporty drive and all of that stuff, it still has a very big trunk. A usual issue in these type of cars is that you don't have a lot of storage space. Well, the BMW 640d doesn't have that problem at all. If you look at in the interior of the car, if you look at the trunk, you have a lot of storage space everywhere, which is a very good thing. And now for comfort. If I talk about the comfort in the 640d, I'm sitting in the passenger side seat right now, and my first impressions are that these seats are so soft, they have so much grip, and they are just fantastic. They are very soft. Going in a long road trip in this car, even if you drive vigorously, well, these seats will not give you any kind of discomfort because they are so comfortable. Now, I would also like to explain the features of the seats that this car has. First of all, you have automatic seats for moving the seat back and forth, the backrest back and forth. Those are pretty normal that you have seen in any other car. You also have the lumbar support in this car, which is also automatic. You've seen this feature in many other cars as well. But one feature that I bet you've seen in very rare cars is that you can even control the amount of bolstering that the seat bolstering is giving you. Like for example, I'm sitting back right now, and using these buttons, I can control how much these seats are gripping me, which is so fantastic. I've never seen it in any other car, and this is actually a very good feature because when you're driving this car vigorously around the curves and all of that, these seat bolsterings will keep you in your place and you won't be wiggling around in the interior of this car, which is very nice. Now the next thing I want to talk about is even better, because the under-thigh support in this car, even that is automatically controlled. Using these buttons over here, I can control the amount of under-thigh support I have, which is just fantastic for those long people like me. I am 6'1", and I know that when I don't have under-thigh support, how uncomfortable it can get. Well, not in this car because BMW has thought of everything. And now for moving into the rear seats in this car, you have to push the front seats forward, and for that BMW has given you a button over here. Even this is automatic in this car, which is fantastic. But anyways, once the seat moves forward, you have this one lever that you have to pull, and then using that you can push the front seat forward in this car. And so now I'm going to move into the rear seats in this car in the most graceful manner that I know. Okay. And there you go. To be honest, that wasn't actually that bad. I could pretty easily climb into the rear seats of this car without any problem. But the real question is, are the rear seats comfortable? Well, for that, I'll have to move the front seat back in its position for seeing the legroom. But if I talk about the headroom, that is pretty sufficient because BMW has given you this roof cutout bubble so that to increase your headroom. So I can pretty easily say that I have about 2 inches of headroom available to me, which is actually fantastic because given that this car has a coupe style design, and even for a tall person like me that is 6'1", I have about 2 inches of headroom, which is fantastic. But for seeing the legroom, I'll have to move the seat back, and so let's move it. Okay, so I'm already starting to feel that the seat is cramping my feet, but this is the farthest that the front seat goes. So right now it's pretty normal. But when I move the backrest forward, that is the main question. So alright, so this is the farthest that the front seat can go with touching my feet. So I can say that I have no legroom in this car, and I can actually not sit in the rear seats of this car because the backrest, as you can see, has not clipped into its place right now, and this is the farthest that it can go without crushing my legs. So I can pretty easily say that I can never sit in the rear seats of a BMW 640d. So in conclusion, all I can say is that the rear seats of a 640d are either for really small children or for just keeping your groceries and nothing else. Alright, so now we're in the cabin of the BMW 640d, and I have with me the owner of Mohit and Raja Car Deals. So hi sir.
Hello.
Alright, so the driving experience in this car is, I am anticipating, is going to be very good, and we'll go through that right together. The initial impressions in this car is that when I'm sitting in the car, we're going over a little bit of bumps. I don't feel those bumps in this car, which is very good. It's a very comfortable ride. Alright, so we're going through this turn over here, but the best thing, okay, alright, okay, that is so cool. Oh my god. We just had this acceleration pull in this car, which is fantastic. I just love the acceleration of this car, which is very good. Going through turns in this car, I was saying, going through turns in this car is no biggie because these bucket shaped design seats are very good. They have a lot of support, and I don't feel that I'm wiggling around in this car at all. Okay, I have to stop talking when this car is pulling because the acceleration of this car is just amazing. Like, I am holding my mobile gimbal right now, and when this car is pulling, the mobile gimbal actually changes its orientation. So I'm really sorry for that if you're getting very bad camera quality right now. But seriously, it's just amazing sitting in this car. Alright, so now before ending the driving experience in this car, I want to talk about the auditory bliss in this car. Literally, it is amazing. I'm going to play this one song which is going to be copyright free because of the YouTube guidelines, but still I'm going to play this song and just have a listen. Alright, the bass in this car is so good. Like, literally, I am having the time of my life in this car. Such a good driving experience. The music quality is so good. I can just imagine going in this car for a long road trip, cruising like free-minded. That would be so amazing. Just have some time to just listen to this music. And so guys, that was the auditory experience in this car. Literally, this is one of the best cars that I have sat in. That is under the price range of 40 lakhs. Like, seriously, it's an amazing car. You guys should literally check this car out. So yes, with this I end my driving experience, and we'll go towards the end of this video. Well, with that, I complete my review of the BMW 640d. For me, this is an amazing car for the price point of just 35 lakhs, that too if you subscribe to our channel. That is amazing. The features it has to provide, the looks of this car, the sheer comfort that this car has to provide, it is amazing. And you've seen it in the review yourself. There is nothing wrong with this car. So come and look at this car if you are interested. Even if you are not interested in this car, they have an amazing inventory of many other luxury cars. So contact them using the links in the description below, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.